in the Zoom room or on social media, help us kick things off by telling us in the chat, tell us your name, tell us where you're calling in from, and tell us what you are fighting for. We've got an amazing lineup tonight, a lineup that illustrates how our revolution is organizing both on the inside the halls of power, and on the outside on the streets, to bring about transformative social change. Tonight, we've got progressive champions like United States Representative Ro Khanna. We've also got the one and only Our Revolution board chair and Democratic National Committeeman, Larry Cohen. We also have Our Revolution PDA Arizona leader, Dan O'Neill, on the line. And we have the next progressive mayor of Akron, Ohio, Tara Mosley. They are all in the house tonight, brothers and sisters. But we also have an amazing group of activists who are joining us from all across the country right here in the Zoom room. And I want to do a shout out. Kitty from Overland Park, Kansas, Kate from Venice, California, Barry from Toledo, Ohio, Alexander from Du Bois, Iowa. We've got Russ from Akron. We got Maria. Man, this is rolling really fast. We've got activists, progressives joining from all across the country. Welcome to everyone who is tuning in. I want to thank you all for being a part of our movement. Again, my name is Joseph Gevarghese, and this is Our Revolution's National Organize to Win call. As the Zoom room builds up, as our audience dials in, I want to lay out the agenda for tonight's call. We're going to kick off with United States Representative Ro Khanna. He's going to talk to us about what the progressive strategy is going to be in the United States House during this Congress. We're also going to talk about our joint work to pass one fair wage in states all across the United States. And we're going to talk about our vision of a new economic patriotism. That's something that Ro Khanna has been talking about. We're also going to hear from Larry Cohen. Larry is Our Revolution board chair. He's also a longtime Democratic DNC party reformer. And he's going to give us the inside scoop on what's happening at the DNC meeting this weekend in Philadelphia and how progressives are organizing to win this weekend and beyond. Right now, we're going to drop a link in the chat to an op-ed, a thought piece, a very strategic thought piece that Larry wrote, and it's entitled Where Progressives Are Going From Here, and it lays out what we've done and where we're going. Be sure to check out that piece. And last but not least, we've got Tara Mosley. Tara is a longtime progressive. She was a Ohio state leader in the Bernie campaign in both 2016 and 2020. She's been a member of the Akron City Council, and she is now running to be mayor of that great city. And we're going to talk to her about what her vision of a progressive city is. And why is that important? It is important because our revolution is going to be focusing on electing progressive mayors and city councilors all across the United States in 2023. Brothers and sisters, let me say this. Our work with Ro, with Larry, with Tara, with Dan O'Neill, it's all made possible because we have members like you, members who contribute their time by volunteering or their treasures to support our revolution. Membership is important to fight for our cause. And that's why we're kicking off our 2023 membership drive with a new limited edition Chairman Bernie sticker. The link is in the chat. You can get it for a one-time donation of $10, but I sincerely hope that you will become a recurring member at $5 a month or $10 a month and help sustain our long-term vision of change. As you can see on the sticker, this sticker commemorates Bernie being named the chairman of HELP. He is the chairman of the Healthcare, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in the United States Senate. And from that seat, he's going to be taking on union busters and other corporate bad actors in fighting for the working class. So help us get Bernie's back. Become a member of our revolution, and you're going to get this cool commemorative sticker. Again, the link is in the chat. Before we bring up our first speakers, I want to quickly ground us all in our vision of change and talk about what our revolution, spotlight a few of the things our revolution has done around the country this week to make our theory of change a reality of change. Bernie started our revolution back in 2016. Why? Because he understood he needed an outside movement to complement his fight on the inside in order to win transformative change. You need both the inside and the outside. And that's why he founded our revolution. Today, we are America's largest grassroots funded progressive organization, and we carry out Bernie's vision of an inside-outside organizing theory by organizing the grassroots to elect progressive champions, fight for progressive issues, and transform the Democratic Party. This week, for example, our members in New York went out to fight for progressive policies. They went out to demand that New York pass a bill to end the sub-minimum wage for tipped workers. This is one of the first of 10 states where we're teaming up. Our revolution is teaming up with One Fair Wage nationally to raise the minimum wage. We're introducing legislation, and in some states, critical battleground states, we're also making sure Raise the Wage gets on the ballot in 2024 in Ohio, in Arizona, in Michigan, and other critical places. Not only are we organizing to raise wages, we're also going after the lobbyists who are conspiring to keep workers in poverty. This week, the New York Times broke a story about how the NRA, the Restaurant Association, ends up taking money from restaurant workers to give them a certification. Then the lobbyists use that money to lobby against giving those very same workers a raise. It's pretty outrageous, but that's what's happening in the United States of America, and we're organizing to stop it. This week, organizers and activists in Michigan, in Maryland, in New York protested outside the offices of these lobbyists. We're going to hear more about our fight for one fair wage with Ro Khanna. I also want to talk about our second plank very quickly, and you're going to hear from Larry Cohen. A key part of our revolution strategy change is fighting on the inside to build progressive power within the Democratic Party at every level of government, whether it's at the county level, the state level, or at the national level. This week, our revolution members came together to help elect progressive party leaders in places like Arizona and Washington State. And we're going to hear a little bit more about this from Larry Cohen and from Pat O'Neill in a moment. And finally, we're focused on electing progressive champions. We're going to be focusing on mayoral races. Bernie started his political career as a mayor, and our revolution is going to be focusing 2023 on electing progressive mayors and city councilors all across the United States. With that being said, I want to invite everyone to get a copy of the Revolution Report. It is our weekly national newsletter. It'll give you the roundup of what our Revolution members are doing all around the country. And with that, I want to bring up our first guest of the evening, United States Representative Ro Khanna. Ro is a super member of our revolution. And when I say super member, he gets that it takes inside outside strategy to win. Our revolution was proud to work with Representative Khanna on key issue fights to kill Joe Manchin's dirty deal, to get increased funding for the National Labor Relations Board, to pass worker rights legislation in California. That's what it takes. It's organizing people on the streets, partnering with progressive allies. So Representative Khanna, welcome to our call. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Ro, before we get going, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the situation, police brutality we witnessed in Memphis this weekend. And I want to ask you, in terms of Tyre Nichols and the terrible treatment he had at the hands of those police officers, what are progressive members of Congress planning to do to address this issue and to check the unaccountable power of the police?
Well, thank you, Joseph. Thank you for your incredible leadership, your energy, seeing so many people week after week on these calls, and Tobacco and Larry Cohen, who I know will be speaking later, for your vision on this. I love the Bernie Sanders iconic stamp or collector's item you showed. If I weren't a member of our revolution, I'd be signing up to get that. He's going to be phenomenal in that role and making a difference for all of the things that those of us who supported him twice campaigned for. Let me say this. I mean, it was obviously just a horrific, shocking, inhumane beating of Tyre Nichols. You know, when Donald Trump is saying that something is wrong, how out of bounds and brutal it must be. Here's the unfortunate situation. This is about so much more than anger or emotion. This is about our law. You see, if our law was different, these types of things wouldn't happen. And it's important to put this in context because of all the Western democracies, every other basically major Western democracy says you can't use force until it's a last resort, unless it's absolutely necessary and there's no other option. That means if someone is running away and isn't posing a threat to human life, you can't chase them down and use force in any other country. We're the only country that is still governed by the William Rehnquist standard in a 1989 Supreme Court decision, which says if an officer thinks the use of force is reasonable, then they can use force. And this has led to a systematic view of giving officers way too much discretion and power in using force. I've been working 5 years ago. We introduced legislation to change the standard of force, and it was passed as part of the Justice and Policing Act in the House, but it is still not passed the Senate. If there is one thing, in my view, that we need to be doing to start putting a dent on the kind of police brutality we're seeing, it is to change the standard of force and to make it consistent with the law of every other Western democracy. And then I just got out of a Progressive Caucus Executive Board meeting. Well, this is top of mind. We actually had talked to Senator Schumer. What are we doing to move forward with police reform and getting something done after this incident?
So, and Ro, is there any legislation that you or your colleagues are proposing? And given that Donald Trump is, has the same reaction that we do, is there some possibility of bipartisan consensus on this issue?
Well, we've proposed the Peace Act, which was folded in, which will change the standard of force. It's been a bill I've been introducing for almost 5 years, but that was passed in the House in the last Congress. The key is now the Senate. And, I understand that Senator Booker is the lead there. Last time he went to Tim Scott, and Tim Scott was candidly very unhelpful. So the question is there someone in the Senate on the Republican side who's going to be real about this issue? That the House progressives put this as one of our top priorities in our meeting with Senator Schumer. We expect and are going to demand that something happen in the Senate. And that's really where both the voting rights and police reform have died. It links in some sense to the fair wage conversation that you're going to have. And that is that, the first modern revolution was actually Dr. King, where he said, we have a scientific revolution, but we need a revolution of our values, a revolution of our values. And he was talking about racism, militarism, both of which are tied to some of what we saw in Memphis. But he was talking also about materialism and economic injustice. It was Dr. King who said that it was criminal, those were his words, to pay someone starvation wages. It's 50 years since, and we're still paying a lot of people starvation wages. I mean, we are paying people who get tips $2.13 in some states in this country. That's what one fair wage is fighting against, that no one should be making $2.13 in modern day America. We're paying, someone said to me the other day, the line stuck with me, Americans can't afford America. I mean, that's such a sad statement, but when you think about it, when you think about the housing costs, the child care costs, the health care costs, the education costs, it is unaffordable for people, and certainly unaffordable on $7.25, probably still unaffordable on $15. And we can't even get a $15 wage of all Democrats supporting it. And then you have this sense where people who are making these starvation wages, their wages are being taken, part of it, they're paying these dues, and then those dues are being used to organize against paying them a fair wage. This is not capitalism. This is not free enterprise. Free enterprise says you get paid fairly for what you produce. This is exploitation. And we have to, it's sort of the first principle to have dignified wages in this country. And we need to do a better job. It's something we haven't been able to deliver in 2 years under the administration. We've got to figure out how we get this across the finish line.
And Ro, let me ask you about the campaign for one fair wage. You recently were one of the first elected officials to sign a pledge not to take money from the National Restaurant Association or the other NRA because of this rigged system you were just talking about. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to take that pledge and why it's important to stand up to these lobbyists who are running roughshod all over the United States Congress.
Well, Joseph, it wasn't a hard pledge for me, honestly, because I don't take a dime from PAC money or lobbyist money anyway. But so it was easy to say, well, we shouldn't be taking it from the National Restaurant Association. I don't understand how you can take that money from an organization that has been the biggest lobbying force against the $15 wage. I mean, you ask the Senate, why did it not pass? And they'll tell you the National Restaurant Association is lobbying against it. They're lobbying specific senators. You wonder why Medicare for All doesn't pass, why canceling medical debt doesn't pass, why caps on insulin don't pass. It's the lobbying. Why is the defense budget bloated? It's the lobbying. Today, someone told me, and we put it out on social media, there are more former members of Congress who are lobbyists than there are members of Congress. I mean, we've got to first stop members of Congress from becoming lobbyists, a lifetime ban on it, and then get rid of this PAC and lobbyist money. And the National Restaurant Association should be put in there as along with other special interest groups that aren't serving the people's needs. So I hope other Democrats, at the very least, will follow me in not taking money from that association.
Well, and you know what, Ro? Our revolution has formed an organizing committee of activists around the country who are going to be calling on their elected officials to sign on to this pledge with you. I want to encourage anyone who is joining us both online or in the Zoom room, sign up to be part of our campaign to raise the wage. There is a committee around the country of activists like yourselves, and I want to invite you to join them, and let's put the pressure on these lobbyists and fight for workers. So, Ro, one last thing. Speaking of workers, you recently wrote a piece that I saw in Newsweek about a new economic patriotism, vision. You laid out a vision of bringing back good jobs to the United States. And you thought that it was something that could unite divided Congress. Can you tell us a little bit more about your vision of economic patriotism, and in particular, maybe how it differs from Trump's economic nationalism, and why we think we can unite populists maybe on both sides around the shared vision?
Well, Trump sold a bunch of lies. He said he wanted to bring jobs back, manufacturing back, and then what was his solution? Let's give a tax cut, a corporate tax cut to big corporations and CEOs. I'll tell you what they did, because a lot of those CEOs are in my district. They took the tax cut, said, thank you very much, and then they put the factories in Malaysia or Vietnam, where there was the cheapest labor. That's what they've been doing for the past 50 years. They've been going where the cheapest labor is, where the least standards are, where the least environmental standards are. And we watched as a country, as factory after factory left, job after job left this country. And that was wrong. And economic patriotism is saying we've got to rebuild our industrial base. We got to make things in this country. COVID showed we didn't make masks in America. We don't make some of the basic ingredients for drugs in America. We don't make enough steel anymore in America. We didn't make enough baby formula in America. We've got to make these things, but we've got to make them with investing in our workforce, with labor unions, with good wages. And the deal's got to be, okay, we'll invest in you if you build here and you pay a prevailing wage and you treat workers well and you work together in rebuilding the industry and jobs in community after community, Black communities, brown communities, working class communities, factory towns. Nothing of this is original. It's how FDR built America, except we're going to do it in a more inclusive way, in a way that's multiracial, multi-ethnic, and welcomes everyone, including immigrants. We're going to need to build the new industries and have a moonshot for economic renewal. I believe that this is something that is so desperately needed to allow the American dream again. It's got to be coupled with Medicare for all, free public college, childcare at $10 a day, so people can actually afford to be part of the economy. And I think this is what our progressive movement is fighting for, is one of the key things we're fighting for, and harkens, like I said, all the way back to FDR.
And tell us a little bit about the national development strategy that you're putting together and that you've engaged with Senator Marco Rubio on.
Well, it was a huge thing that he signed along, because usually the Republicans have been free market, let the companies go wherever they want, let corporate greed go wherever they want. We said, let's create a National Economic Development Council to develop jobs here. I mean, do you ever think when these factories leave, when these jobs leave, what do? We come in with unemployment insurance. We come in with trade adjustment assistance for a few months, and then we forget about it. Have we ever tried an economic revitalization strategy, saying what are the new jobs that are going to come in? How are we going to provide the education for those jobs? How are we going to involve labor in making sure those workers have opportunities and are treated fairly? The National Economic Development Council will bring all of the agencies together and finance the economic revitalization of communities that have been destabilized and where jobs have left. And we'll look at what industries we can have and how we can work with labor to build them. And I think this is something we need to do, and we need to do it in clean technology areas. We need to do it in industry after industry. And if we do it, we can rebuild the economy of our country.
Ro, I think it's fascinating that someone like Marco Rubio has signed on and understands that we need to work together in our common interest to make sure that we create good jobs in America. Both Republicans and Democrats are talking about this, and both of you are actually saying, hey, let's get together and get this done. That's remarkable. Our Revolution members are going to be with you, brother, to help move this and other critical progressive pieces of legislation forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for your incredible leadership. Thank you to Our Revolution for the fight You would have been proud of the Progressive Caucus meeting executive board this evening. We had Summer Lee and Maxwell Frost, young progressives from all over the country getting elected. And I appreciate it. It was Bernie and Larry's original vision when they started this. And Paco, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Love what you're doing.
Thank you. United States Representative Ro Khanna. Again, for everyone who is here, if you want to get involved in our One Fair Wage campaign, link will be in the chat. I also want to encourage all of you who are listening to support our work, to organize on the inside and outside, to partner with people like Ro Khanna, and to build popular support for progressive policies. You can do that by becoming a member of our revolution. $5 a month, and we will send you a commemorative Chairman Bernie help sticker. It's a special gift, limited edition. Get it now. So with that, I want to turn it over to another chairman, and this is the chairman I love the most. His name is Chairman Larry Cohen. He is the founding chair of Our Revolution, and he is also a member of the Democratic National Committee. He's been a long-time leader in the effort to transform the Democratic Party for decades, even decades before Bernie first ran for president. Larry was in those meetings at the DNC fighting for progressive rules, progressive resolutions, and for progressive members to be in power. And so I want to welcome Larry Cohen to our call. Larry wrote an amazing piece. I encourage everyone here to read it. It lays out our strategy, our inside-outside strategy to bring about social change. And that strategy foundationally starts within the Democratic Party. And there's amazing stuff happening all around the country. And Larry's here to talk about what, as this in these times headline says, what the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has planned next. So Larry, welcome. And what do we got planned next?
Great to be with you. Sorry about that. Had to get off of mute. Great to be with you and be with our great staff team and leaders across the country, and great leaders in the Congress like Ro Khanna and the others that we're going to hear from tonight. So, you know, Joseph has always laid out the 4 points of our revolution. We organize around issues. We work in elections, particularly in primaries, which I'll come back to. We transform the party itself. And, you know, we do that by building the movement with allies from other organizations as well. And in many ways, this part of it, transforming the party, and what this article is about, and in these times, is dull and turns people off. And I totally get that. And, you know, I'll talk more about that in a minute, the turnoff part. But I just want to stress at the beginning here that for me, you know, for a lifetime and for all of us, we're motivated by the things we love, the people we love, the fights that are about the people we love and the things we love, whether it's healthcare, for me, workers' rights, an entire lifetime on those fights, the climate crisis, and these other things, elections and transforming the party, are only a way to get the things we love. So I want to be clear on that. I'm not in love with doing this party work. But as Joseph said, decades ago, I came to the conclusion as a union leader at the time, and since then, the Bernie campaign and Our Revolution, that there's no point, I mean, literally no point in doing electoral politics if we're not going to fight to change the party. If we're not going to fight at least as much in the primaries as in a general election, when we know that, for instance, in the House of Representatives, 80% of the districts are one-party districts. There is no general election. That's also true for the majority in the U.S. Senate. So the only way we get to Medicare for all, the only way we get workers' rights, where organizing rights join with every other nation in the world. The only way we get the kind of policing that Ro Khanna talked about, public safety really, like every other country in the world, is that we have to build a political movement and then view things like transforming the party as a key tactic. It's not the strategy. The strategy is building the movement around the issues. But the tactic becomes the party has to change on different levels. So let me just rattle those off. You just heard from Ro Khanna about, in many ways, the most exciting level, and it's what I mostly wrote about in this piece and In These Times. You can find that at inthes.times.com or on the last Revolution report. There's a link, or in the chat, which is the Congressional Progressive Caucus. So think about this. In a year when Democrats lost the majority in the House, we gained 7 more members in the Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Progressive Caucus. That's a net gain of 7. We lost in 11, for example, but the net gain was 7. So we actually elected 9 new ones. And now the Congressional Progressive Caucus, in a formal way, is 1/2 of the Democratic caucus. So in other words, half of the 212 Democrats, just under half, have joined that caucus. But who cares? Well, why do we care? So we take that one example, which Joseph talked about, what we call the dirty deal. It was originally called Manchin's dirty deal, but the Democratic leaders in the White House embraced it as well. So I could call it Biden's dirty deal. And I don't have the time to get into all that. But Jeff Merkley, a month ago on one of our calls, said the Democratic leaders now believe in all energy, dirty and renewable. Well, how do you stop that? That's just one example. How do you stop the giveaways to the pharma industry? Bernie has called out Moderna, charging now $130 a dose for COVID vaccine. How do you stop the military-industrial complex from the most bloated military budget ever? We've got to have a strategy to do it. The best strategy we have, and the one that has worked, not all the time, it's not strong enough, is the Congressional Progressive Caucus. That's all about an inside fight inside the Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives, and then using that push, as you just heard again from Ro Khanna, to push on the Senate, which is another whole story for another night. So number one is the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and linked to it the primary fights to increase their numbers. Any old blue just won't do, and that's an understatement. Most of them, and not most of them, but a huge chunk of them, almost half, are literally corporate Democrats. They're in districts that the Democrats are going to win. And so we started with somebody like Ocasio-Cortez. She knocked off Joe Crowley, who was a leader. That is a very tough fight, grueling fight. But if we don't do those two things, one, build that Congressional Progressive Caucus strategy to win. We won on the dirty deal. That's just one example. There are more examples. 2, that we're challenging incumbents and running in open seats. Number 2, we're going to hear from a great friend of mine, an amazing family in Arizona, Dan O'Neill, longtime leader in Arizona. And you saw it on the screen earlier. My union sister from CWA, Yolanda Bejarano, Yoli as I call her, winning the chair of the Arizona party in a contested election with the new governor supporting somebody else. And she won overwhelmingly. And as Dan will tell us, so did her whole slate. And as he will also tell us, that's years of work, boring from within, as we call it. Boring from within. Years of work to get to that point. Why does it matter? Because she's aligned with Ruben Gallego, who's going to challenge Kyrsten Sinema. Many Democrats in the Senate are going to say, oh, so what? She's an independent. We're still going to back her, just like we back Angus King, Bernie Sanders. They're independents. That would be another longer story about Maine and Vermont. But just sticking on this, we must defeat Kyrsten Sinema. And that means a Democratic Party in Arizona that will go full out to call her out for what she is, corporate hack. That's what she is. And that will mobilize everyday people, unaffiliated voters and Democrats to elect Ruben Gallego. That's just one example. In more than 20 states, most of them west of the Mississippi, our revolution and our allies have now elected state party chairs and other key leaders, like the first vice chair in Arizona, as Dan will tell us. So that's number two. You get involved in the precinct and county level, bore from within, and we have 20 states plus Democrats abroad that now can point to the results of that. All of it is from the first Bernie campaign. That's where this energy, I shouldn't say all of it. That's not fair. Most of it is from the Bernie 2015, 2016 campaign, not giving up and fighting. The third level, where I've been tortured for 17 years, the Democratic National Committee, fighting for change. Why is that worth something? Because coming out of the first Bernie campaign, without, again, lots of details, we were able to push a reform movement in the party to abolish superdelegates from being involved. Those are the DNC members, are not involved in nominating the presidential nominee. If we had had that in 2016, Bernie would have been the nominee. We got rid of that. And then again, 2020 is a longer story of how Biden beat Bernie. But the point being that we're never going to elect, don't make it about Bernie at this moment. We're never going to elect a progressive if 750 superdelegates are there before the first primary election. And so that's only one reason the DNC matters. It also matters, it's supposed to police the democracy in the 57 parties. It's 57 because the territories each have a party, like DC or Puerto Rico, et cetera. They're not doing it. And again, they're not doing it because the White House controls right now, the Biden White House controls the DNC, and they're not interested in the reform movement in New York or New Jersey, where I spent 20 years, or even Pennsylvania, let alone states like Florida, where the corruption is rampant. And it goes on and on. But again, the three levels, the DNC, the state parties, primary elections, the House of Representatives from the primaries, the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Finally, the DNC meets this weekend. And that was sort of the trigger of the piece I wrote. And in 2 words, it's a shit show. There's no other way to describe it. And we have about 65 to 75, and it's growing, members of the DNC. And we have many fights we will bring to that meeting, including what's in the article, which is to ban dark money in Democratic primaries. If we don't get the dark money, what I call now the dirty money, out of Democratic primaries, it becomes increasingly impossible to elect the challengers, the insurgents, the progressives in those primaries, and then elect them, whether it's the House of Representatives or a mayor of Akron, who we're going to hear from next, or the city council in St. Louis, where we're so actively involved now. So that was maybe too many minutes, Joseph, but that's what we're trying to do here, is to unite our revolution activists around that program to change the party at those levels, not just one of them, but all of them. And it can start with your own county party, where it's not that hard to get involved and change it.
And so, Larry, let me ask you this. In terms of progressive power within the DNC, you said we've got a block of maybe 65 or so members of the DNC?
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. I think this is probably the biggest progressive block we've had
ever.
Which
well,
is
maybe not. Maybe in the Jesse Jackson era. I don't want to go overboard, but certainly in my 17 years there, it's not a close call. In the when Hillary Clinton got superdelegates before the Iowa caucus, the first caucus or primary in 2016, she already had 300 superdelegates voting for her. There was me and a couple others for Bernie. So this number is the most we've ever had, and it's because of the state parties like the Arizona story you're about to hear.
And so that being said, what I think it's important just to underscore the organizing that happens behind the scenes to make this progressive bloc a reality. And it's the same strategy that the CPC has been using, that Megan Green is using in St. Louis. It is slowly, seat by seat, winning power. And at the end of the day, that's what this is. It's kind of a long game. And Larry, just tell us a little bit about that, because as you said, this is kind of the boring, slow sludge.
Yeah.
but it's also the inner sanctum of where the rulers make the rules, right?
Right. And as I said in the piece, I say this a lot. It's the rules, not just the rulers. Even us as activists get enamored with, and it's fine up to a point, with the Ro Khanna or Pramila Jayapal or Bernie Sanders or AOC or so many others, right? There's a lot now. But if we don't work on the rules, we're never going to win. And we're here to win the things we love. I don't want to repeat all that again. We're not here. It's not like, I'm from Philly, so I want the Eagles or the Phillies to win. It's not my team. This is about what we actually love in the world. Way more important than a team winning. So you mentioned Megan Green. She was a Bernie supporter, became a Bernie convention delegate in 2016, was a DNC member. So the top 4 from every state party are automatically on the DNC. And she kept going. And she's an amazing sister. She kept going. She got elected as an older woman, an alderman, they call it, but from her area of St. Louis. And then she won a Democratic primary that we were a key force in, our revolution supporters in St. Louis and around the country, who called all our supporters in St. Louis. And she beat a real estate backed candidate, a development candidate in that primary, and then got elected in the general. She's now president of the Board of Aldermen. We can change almost every local government that way. From Somerville, Massachusetts, where our folks were doing that even in 2016 when we started our revolution, to a big city like St. Louis, we can do that at that level because you can knock on doors. It can be face-to-face. You can offset the dirty money. So yeah, let me just stress, the best building block is the county or the municipality, and we fight from there. And when we change our county, change our municipality, we can improve the lives, our own happiness, and the lives of the people we love, just like Megan Green is doing in St. Louis, without getting into all the details, on the environment, on better housing, on safe policing, in the city next to Ferguson, Missouri. They've been working on that issue ever since Ferguson.
So, Chairman Cohen, again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight, and thank you for your leadership longtime leadership of our revolution, your involvement in Bernie Sanders' campaign, and your partnership in making the political revolution a reality for
all. Joseph, let me just ask one thing. We have a national group called Transform the Party, right?
That's right.
Can we get people to sign up for that in the chat?
Yes. And that link, yes, join Larry. If you are an elected official within the Democratic Party at any level, and you want to coordinate and trade war stories or get ideas from other progressives, sign up for the party transformation team. People like Larry, Jane Clubb, who's on our board, other party activists are coordinating the work at all levels so we can continue to move the movement forward. Because Larry, I love you, but we don't want to be doing this another 17 years, right? We got to speed it up.
Not me.
Yeah. And so in order to speed it up, we need you to get involved in a concrete way as a part of our national network, and we can scale up the work. So again, Chairman Cohen, thank you.
Solidarity.
And with that, I want to turn it over to our National Field Director, Mike Oles, who's going to drill down on some of the exciting work that's happening in Arizona around party work and in Ohio around electoral work. Mike?
Thanks, Joseph and Larry. I just want to bring out the broom real quick. We got a big sweep, in Arizona this past weekend. Dan O'Neill from Progressive Democrats of America, from Our Revolution, a huge ally, somebody who I spent the night at his house as we were fighting Kirsten Sinema last year, barnstorm in the state. This is what hard work and years of dedication looks like. Big victory. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan for a couple of minutes. Dan, what did we learn from this big victory with the sweep, the slate, with Yolanda winning and everybody else? 11-0, right, on Saturday.
So, Mike, can you hear me okay?
Got you loud and clear.
All right. Well, thank you. Welcome, Our Revolution in Arizona. We are just crazy excited. As you know, I am not Yolanda Bejarano. I am Dan O'Neill. I'm the state coordinator for Progressive Democrats of America and a big supporter of Our Revolution. Our Revolution and PDA work hand in hand around the country on so many projects. Yolanda Bejarano is our new chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. She's a union activist. She is a member of the Communication Workers of America, CWA, both here in Arizona and nationally. She was with Bernie Sanders way back in 2015, where she actually introduced Bernie Sanders to 11,000 people in downtown Phoenix that summer. She's a vice chair of our party and a longtime supporter, again, of PDA and Our Revolution. She was a field organizer just in December in Georgia to help Reverend Warnock win his election. She led hundreds of union activists door knocking all over Atlanta. So we are just, again, so excited. She is now our new chair. We also elected our first vice chair, who was also a big progressive, Paul Eckerstrom from Tucson. And both of them, both Yolanda and Paul, now are on the DNC and will be joining with Larry Cohen on the DNC. So again, we had a kind of a slate where we had 10 activists, 10 progressives that ran for 13 different positions, and we won 10 of 10. So all 10 of our progressive activists got on the executive board, and we now have a working majority on the Arizona Democratic Party. I should say a working progressive majority on the Arizona Democratic Party executive board of our party. So again, I don't know where to begin. Again, it's all about winning, and it's all about power. It's all about winning power, as Joseph said earlier. So, Mike, you might have some questions. I know I have a couple.
We have another minute before we're going to go to Ohio and talk about election coming up. But
okay.
Just tell us the process. How did you, the hard work that went in this? You know, you've been at it for years, but tell us about just coming together in November and then plotting out a plan to win this.
Right, and actually, this is probably the most important part of it, and I think Larry touched on it in his talk earlier. It's organizing 101. It's when we organize, we win. We started 2.5 months ago, back in November. Patty Serrano, Paul Stapleton Smith, myself, 4 or 5 of us got together on a phone call and said, what are we going to do to help transform the party? How are we going to get some progressives elected? Who should it be our next chair if the current chair decides not to run? And we started organizing, and the current chair decided not to run because she's the new state Senate leader, and Yolanda was stepped up. She got endorsements from some really key people like Senator Kelly, like Ruben Gallego, like our newly elected Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes. And then we started whipping votes, 750 delegates. We called every single one of those delegates. We literally, the PDA phone team, for example, made all kinds of crazy calls. And I want people on this call to join Our Revolution phone team, because that's how we get things done. Well,
Dan, we got to run to Ohio, but I just want to say that the momentum you built for this campaign is amazing, right? Because you thought you had a good shot to win this, right, going into this, but then you guys ended up winning by 70%. But I thought exactly on Friday, you're like, Mike, I think we got it, but it's gonna be close, and then you guys won by 70%.
I called Yolanda
to finish strong.
I called Yolanda the night before and said, I think we have it. Our spreadsheet says 365. If you give a knockout speech tomorrow, we're going to win. And she did. She gave a knockout speech. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be in touch, and Arizona, progressive blue, and we'll keep on rolling. Thank you, Dan. And let's go to Ohio, where now we're going to go from inside the party to the ballot box this spring. So Diane Morgan, our membership coordinator, take it away, and let's go to Our Revolution Ohio.
Thank you, Mike. And these are tough shoes to fill after all of this. But now it's my pleasure to introduce Tara Mosley, who is running for mayor of Akron, Ohio. You know, I met Tara in 2016. We were both Bernie delegates. And then in 2018, I got to work closely with her when she ran for lieutenant governor with Dennis Kucinich. In 2020, she was our state chair for Bernie, and she helped us to build Ohio for Bernie, which was a great organization, and we really grew Our Revolution Ohio through that. So Our Revolution backed Tara for her reelection to her third term as Akron City Council member, and now she's running for mayor. So I'd like to say to everybody, if you've got any questions for Tara, put them in the chat, in the Q&A, in the Zoom. I'm sorry, not the chat, the Q&A. And so I do want to say now, we are really excited in Ohio about your race, Tara, for mayor of Akron. And not only have you and I worked together on elections like Nina Turner, which you helped deliver Akron for her. The issues that we've worked on, like stopping the development of Ladue Reservoir, civilian oversight of the police, and you leading the charge to get dash cams in police cars, the phenomenal work. Not only are we proud to endorse you, I think of you as my sister, but you also have the endorsements of Dr. Cornel West and Danny Glover, who were powerhouses on Bernie's campaign, and that's so super exciting. So it's great to see you tonight, Tara, and thank you for joining us right after your city council meeting, and tell us about your mayor's race.
Well, thank you all for having me, and thank you, Diane, for always being very supportive and continuing in the fight for justice. I appreciate you all for that. So yes, I am running for mayor for the city of Akron. Our mayor, as you can behind this picture with me, he has decided not to run for re-election. The field is a crowded field. There are 8 people in this race. I am the only woman in this race. And something very unique about this race is Akron, which is the 5th biggest municipality in the state of Ohio, has never had a woman mayor. They've never had an African-American mayor. So I will be checking 2 of those boxes. The unique thing about me is I am the progressive in this race. We have a corporate Democrat in this race. We have a centrist Democrat in this race. And then we have, I guess it depends on who you ask, where the other ones lie. But as far as being a progressive, I'm the only progressive in this race. I am a member of the Sierra Club. I fight for environmental justice each and every time it comes up to us for legislation, whether it's to ban fracking or to cap the gas and oil wells in the city of Akron. I led the charge for us not to sell Ladue Reservoir. And because of the support of Our Revolution Ohio and other activist groups, including Sierra Club, we were able to have them pull that legislation and keep them from selling our water reserve. You know, and I really appreciate the activists for standing up and standing beside me as we fought to keep that natural reserve in our city. Why am I running? I'm running because the city of Akron needs to do leadership. They need someone who actually cares about people, not about corporations. And we need someone who will quit selling Akron off to the highest bidder. I am running because I've done the work. I have the legislative experience, and I do believe that I have the people on my side. We have started knocking on doors already, and it has been very humbling to hear so many people across the city saying they want change and that they support me. So I know with the help and the support of Our Revolution Ohio and them being in this fight with us and knocking on these doors and making these phone calls, we do believe that if we turn out the vote, we will win. We do expect it to be a low turnout because it is a May primary. We have 92 days to win this. That primary date was changed on purpose to keep activists out of the race. And so when I become the mayor of the city of Akron, I do plan on changing that primary date back to September, where it belongs, so people have a right to cast their vote for who they want to support instead of people with money buying elections. And that's what we have here. We have a candidate who is attempting to buy an election. And they may have the money, but we will have the people. But we still need money so we can get our message out. So, well, we will adamantly tell everyone to log on to our website at mosleyformayor.com. Look at our platform, look at my sponsored legislation, original legislation that I have authored in the 9 years of me being on council.
Oh, Tara, I'm just getting chills just hearing you and thinking about how exciting this is going to be. So we heard from Ro earlier about reinvigorating the heartland and bringing back jobs. And I know Akron sure needs it like so many other towns. And what can you do as a progressive mayor, piggyback on some of the things that Ro was talking about?
Well, the one thing that I am really working hard on is trying to make sure that all of our City of Akron, we have a lot of City of Akron employees who are part-time. One of the things I really want to work on is making sure that we make those employees whole, and they need to be full-time. It makes no sense that you have 26 people in your cabinet making over $100,000 a year, but we have part-time employees who've been there 10, 15, and 20 years. So that is one of the things that is on my agenda, first and foremost, is making sure that those part-timers are full-time. I want to make sure that those people who are already retired, but they brought them back, it's time to go home and retire, and let us give our young people some jobs, which is very important. Within the ward that I currently represent, we have brought in almost $1 billion in economic development during my time on council. I do plan on using those relationships that I have with those entities to grow our employment base here in the city of Akron. One of those places happens to be Amazon. I do want to push forward to making sure Amazon becomes unionized. As mayor, that is one of my priorities, is getting Amazon unionized.
Oh boy, I'm getting more excited, as we go along. So thank you so much. And what I wanted to say is, so tomorrow night, we're going to start phone banking for you. And we would absolutely love to have anybody who's interested in joining the phone bank force, come on and make some calls with us. We're going to be talking to our Revolution members throughout the district, and really want to build up our force and our volunteer base and get people out knocking those doors and phone banking and helping any way they can. So the link is, I'm going to drop it right now in the chat if you can join us. And so I thank you, Tara, for being here. It's so exciting to see you. And this race, what's that, 92 days you said?
92 days. And starting on Wednesday, well, tomorrow is our finance deadline. And then I have that Wednesday, I am having my first town hall meeting called Getting to Know Tara Mosley. So those people who may be on the fence, those who are still undecided, I want to use this as an opportunity to show them and tell them why I'm the best person for mayor of the city of Akron.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to move along here. It's great seeing you. Besides phone banking, there's a lot to be done to elect allies like Tara in state and local races this year. So we hope that you'll join the Elect Progressives team. We're going to drop that link in the chat. And besides Akron, we'll be working to elect progressive mayors and city council members in places like Chicago, New York City, Philly, Nashville, Dallas, and others. So even if you're not in one of those areas or there's no election in your area, you can make an impact from anywhere to help build progressive power. So thank you, Tara, and back to you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Councilwoman Tara, soon to be mayor. Been around the future mayor many times, and I cannot wait to have another strong progressive Midwest mayor. And so as we wrap up tonight, thank you everybody for joining. We gather every 2 weeks now, twice a month. So join us here in a couple of weeks to make these Monday nights part of your calendar as we gather as a community, in a community of communities, as we gather to build the progressive movement and to keep winning and winning and winning, so we can take over this party, take over this country, make sure everybody has health care in a just society. But we are breaking out our work into teams. So tonight, if you have not yet joined the Federal Action Team, we'll be fighting to get executive action in motion so that the Biden administration can be as progressive as possible. Join our Federal Action Team. Sign up is in the chat. Let's move on to the next team, the Raise the Wage team. This is the team I'm hoping to lead with One Fair Wage. You heard the road tonight. We're going to have a meeting on Thursday night, so expect the call to hang out on Thursday night as the Raise the Wage team gets going. We're going to nationalize this movement, win state by state, but also make sure it's part of the national conversation. Join the Raise the Wage team. We'll have a meeting Thursday night. Join tonight, as you heard, join the Transform the Party team. This team is doing a lot of great work. Arizona, Washington State, now progressive led. You know, become a precinct captain, get involved with your local Democratic Party, join the party transformation team. Again, key core work that our revolution does. And tonight, as we wrap up, please donate to the Stop Cinema Fund. Ruben Gallego has officially thrown his hat into the ring against Kyrsten Sinema. With Sinema, you know, raking in big money, it's going to take historic grassroots effort to win this fight. Donate now to our Stop Cinema Fund. We're going to jumpstart our organizing for 2024. Just, you know, right now it's, 18 months away. So let's build our fund up to take on Sinema and take out one of the worst senators and replace her with a progressive. And one last time, our Bernie sticker is hot. Everybody's buying it. You can get yours for $5 if you're already a member. You can get it for $5. If you're not a member yet, sign up, become a member, and get the Bernie sticker. This thing is selling like crazy. We want to send out the first mailing of it soon. Bernie, healthcare, education, labor, pensions, right? That sums it up what we're fighting for. So get the chairman sticker. Let's build our revolution. Let's keep on building what Bernie helped launch back in 2016. And let's wrap it up for tonight. If you're with us tonight, if you can unmute yourself, we got a big call tonight. We'll gather here in 2 weeks. When we organize,
we win.
When we organize,
we win.
When we organize,
We win.
Awesome. I hope you heard my daughter here cheering with me. We'll talk to everybody soon. Good night, and let's organize to win. Good night, everybody.